Hi there, Disney D Prince here today. Today I am reviewing slash rebodying a few dolls in my collection. So, of course, we have Emmitt Cullen from the Twilight franchise. Now, I'm not a huge Twilight fan anymore, and I did get these dolls on clearance on Mercari. So I was like, you know what? I don't need their clothes or anything, but what I do like is this nice, easy, modern Ken head sculpt, where you can just pop them straight onto the made-to-move bodies. Which goes into part 2 of our video, is the BMR 1959 Man Bun Ken. Now, of the 3 Kens that came out in the BMR 1959 line, this one is the palest. As you can see, he's got his big oversized hoodie and little blue shorts, and he's got some flip-flops on down there. Now, I already have one of these that I've taken the man bun out and given him kind of a faux hawk instead. So I bought more of these bodies while they're on sale at like 20 bucks each right now. You gotta look around. I think I got mine through Target for 20. But they are in these cool little inserts inside the boxes. I keep the shoe boxes because they are a lot easier to store dolls with. But so today we're going to take him out of the package, and we are going to take his head off, and we're going to put Emmitt onto this body. It's not a perfect match. As you can see, our BMR Ken has a little bit more of a pinky undertone, but you know what? It's close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades, as my mom would say. So let's get him open. So they do have these little inserts on the back. There's not that much tape, which is nice. And more importantly, there's not that many of the little plastic secured tabs, which I usually hate because they leave holes in your doll clothes and in your stuffed animals and things like that, and it's just frustrating in my opinion. But I just have my handy dandy Gundam nippers here, which serve as their multi-purpose tool to get that taken off. And then we're just going to unbox him real quick. I've unboxed a lot of these in the past few weeks, so I've kind of got my BMR bodies down to a pretty good art. And they do have these little plastic securers down at the bottom, which are like pull tabs, and they come off like that. And they do have them again down at the bottom of the box down here. And those I wish Barbie would do more of, because it's a lot easier to take those on and off. Now we're going to take his stand off and put it to the side, because I'm going to mess with that later, because these Ken fasteners to hold the made-to-move Kens are a little bit harder to find than the Barbie versions. You can't really get aftermarket Ken doll stands that are designed for Ken dolls, or at least none that I've found that are really cost-effective. But let's just pop him out. Yep. Now he does have a little plastic piece right in there that's holding this together. That's holding his sleeve in his hoodie pocket. So I'm gonna take all this off, because while I like the Barbie BMR 1959, I'm not a huge fan of the street styles that they chose, just because I like to have my dolls in more kind of off-the-rack looks. But more on that in a later episode, I think, later video. And so we do have him like this. See, he's got his little man bun with his little excess ponytail. And so the clothes are good material, which is nice. It's not your typical Barbie clothes. But the draw of these dolls has got to be the fact that they are made to move Ken, and they are the palest made to move Ken. Now, while I like the African American doll that they did do in this series, it's not as dark as some of the fashionista Kens, and so I have only gotten a few of those. I'm just going to set all of his stuff that we're not going to use in this video off to the side, just because there's always something else going on with all these stuff later on. But as you can see, Emmitt is not a perfect match. There's more of a pinky undertone, but as you can see with Edward and with Jasper here in the back that I've already rebodied because they got here last week, it's close enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the head off of Emmitt. Now, unless your Ken heads are super gluey and hard, you don't need to do a ton of heating them like you do the Barbie heads, because they tend to have this little peg, so it makes it easy to just pop right off right there. Now, I don't care so much about what happens to this body, but on the made to move bodies, I am going to be a little more careful. But his head is nice and soft, as you can see. So I am just going to pop it. Now, I do like to just kind of get the entire ring out, this bottom ring out of this bottom lip right here, before I try to mess with the prongs, just so I don't break the actual peg that holds it into the body. Because when you do that, it's just, you know, you start to lose a bit of respect for yourself because you just broke a $20 body. And as far as putting it back on, it's just pop it back on like that. And see, we've got him rebodied like that. And you know what? It's a close enough match under the light. And now he's got full range of motion. And we're going to set him off to the side. And just to keep things easier to keep track of, I put the old head on the old body. And I'm going to put these off to the side because I don't need him right now. And now we have another one to do. This is Carlile, the dad, which I was not aware that they had made this doll until I started looking for more of these heads. Because again, we have this great new head sculpt for Ken that they've only done really since about, I think consistently since about 2015 by my research, outside of like the Barbie Basics line. And those dolls are like for the Ken dolls at least about $100 a doll, which I like them, but not enough to spend that much in an aftermarket pricing when they retailed for like $30 in the stores. But they are on my list of things that I do want to get. And so we're gonna go ahead and take another one of these out. Again, he's the same thing. There's nothing tricky about this one. I just want to get him out and show you guys how the color works on Carlile. Now, most of the Twilight boys are the same shade because, you know, they're all supposed to be vampires. It would have been kind of interesting to see the Laurent done in a doll form. As far as I know, they didn't make him, but that would have been kind of a cool head with those dreadlocks that he had in the movie. But for now, we're just gonna take off the things that we need for now. And we are going to get him out of the box. And now don't worry, some of you may see that I forgot to take the glasses out on our last Ken, but I'm not throwing this stuff away just yet. I'm just mainly focusing on getting the doll out because I want to keep this video under 20 minutes if I can. But I am doing all of this in real time, so I'm sorry for the delay, just because I don't really enjoy the process of editing videos as much. But, you know, some people are really good at it and they can do, you know, transitions and things like that. But I am not that kind of creator so far. But again, he has these little securers on the back. And while I think there is probably more plastic in these in this packaging than we do have in like the fashionistas right now, it is a lot better because you have a lot fewer of the tabs that go through your clothes, at least. Again, we're just gonna take everything off that we don't really want him wearing because he's not in my wish list of things to have right on this moment. Again, he has one of these stands, and it does say BMR1959. Take that off to the side. And these are the glasses that I was talking about earlier. They are just kind of like cool, not quite aviators, more like grandpa hipster glasses. And those are on the side of your doll. Again, these were like 20 bucks right now. They started off retailing at 30. I am kind of excited because I hear through the rumor mill that there's going to be a wave 3 of these BMR dolls. And so I am holding out hope for a darker skinned Ken doll, because the African doll that they released for the first round was not very dark. In fact, he's only about maybe a shade or half a shade darker than the new fashionista wheelchair Ken. Again, here we have him with his man bun and everything. And so I'm hoping for more of a cool, darker skinned match. So again, we have this one. He's off. He's out of his box. He's got all of his good joints. And so we're gonna take Carlile's head off and we'll go from there. Now, Carlile has a little bit of a harder head and his hair does feel kind of gluey, and I will probably clean him up later, because for now I am just going to pop him off like that. But notice this guy's head is a lot softer, and you will kind of encounter this with rooted dolls, that you do have to be a little more careful when they have the rooted hair like this than you do with the molded Ken dolls. But they are cool, they are fun, and when they are soft like that, they do just pop right off almost. Again, be careful with it. See on the inside, I don't know if you guys can see that. Probably not. There is a little bit of glue residue inside there that kind of makes me want to clean it right now, but I'm just going to show you guys. So here he is on the Made to Move body, and now it looks really dramatic, the color difference right here almost, but in person it's a much more subtle difference in this color tone, and once you put them in clothes it's not really going to be much of a difference. And again, just to keep things organized, I put his head back on there. So we have Jasper, who I just have in some basic, I think, Ken lifeguard trunks right now. And he's kind of I see him a lot on Instagram where people really like to use his head as part of the model muse. I think he's got a pretty good mold, though I think they may have reused that mold for part of the basics collection. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. Again, we have Edward, and Carlile. And we do have Emmitt. Now, I'm going to show you guys the other doll that I have on this body, which is the recent fashionista Ken. I affectionately call him K-pop Ken, but his hair is actually different than a lot of the molded Ken dolls, because if you look at that, his hair is actually separately molded on there. It's not part of his head mold. So getting him off of his body is actually a little trickier, because if you pull too hard, it will put you, it will try to separate from the head. And he's just in Creatable World shorts that I have, that I like to use for sort of imitation boxer briefs. And just to round off our Twilight collection, I did get a Taylor Lautner Jacob doll like this, and I put him on the BMR 1959 guy in the green overalls and the blue puffy jacket. And he's got a pretty face. It is a little snub-nosedy and doesn't immediately remind you of Taylor Lautner, but it is still this new style of Ken doll head that I like, that works really well with the made-to-move bodies, because it doesn't get caught on the peg. And notice that skin tone difference is pretty drastic between him and the other ones. But here we'll show you the, this is a basic Ken that I had. I think this is actually the Barbie Fairytopia Mermaid Ken head that I put on here pretty recently. But his skin tone is a kind of a true medium between those two. And then just to show you the range of the BMR skin tones, I do have the ginger guy, who is, I believe his model name is Tate, his face mold. And he is really pretty. I do love a good ginger Barbie, but he is not like the ginger girls that you encounter in the fashionista line, because most of them are actually on an Asian skin tone. They don't have this sort of peachy complexion compared to the Asian boys. See, that is there's a lot more of a rosy complexion to him. It's much more peaches and cream than straight pale, which is great for a ginger guy, but kind of sucks because there's not a whole lot of color matches for him. But as far as that goes, I mean, there are, and I'll show you my my one qualm with the African American skin tone that they have is I really wanted to put this rooted Ken with his high top cut, because he's got a great face mold and I love rooted hair. But as you can see, he is noticeably darker than the black skin tone that they have. So it is a very light-skinned black that they have so far in the made-to-move Kens, and that's kind of my one qualm. but I'm still going to keep that head on that doll because once I put him in clothes, it's not going to be that big of an issue. And again, the your medium skin tone from the Wheelchair Fashionista Ken is great for your Latino dolls. He is great. This is the dog training Ken that right now is out in stores because I liked the way this face mold looked. And it is just a recolor of basic Ken, but it does, with the brown eyes and the brown hair, it does make him a lot more normal looking and an average, and I really like that in a Ken doll. So this is probably one of my favorites with the soccer Ken. But other than that, these the BMR bodies are great, and if you can get them on sale, they are really worth it if you are like me and you want to have your dolls be really posable, because like I like to put dolls in fun positions where you're just like, oh, is that how they sit? That might be how they sit. Like, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna put him right there, you know? Or we can go like this and just kind of turn him to the side. And he can be seductively laying on the beach. You know, there's all kinds of posability with these dolls, which is why I really like it. Because just even comparing to older vintage Kens, the new Ken doll bodies that they have out right now are not any sort of articulated. Like, Ken dolls that came out in the 80s and 90s at least had the bendable metal-centric legs, and they were rubberized. This is all hard plastic, which is nice because it moves. These joints, a lot of people say they have stress problems, so when you first open these, do kind of move them around gently, you know. You're not going to encounter problems at this joint, but, you know, spin your arms around, do that first joint. There's usually no problem in this first joint. I do notice that the second joint, where like if they want to go up and touch their head or their neck, this joint back here does get kind of tight. So, you know, move that around. Again, they've got turning at this one, turning in there, and underneath the shoes they do have ankle joints, which is great because it does let them stand up on their own pretty much. Now, as you notice, some of these guys are leaning on each other, and that's just because I haven't straightened their legs fully. But, you know, if we take one of the stands that I have already assembled over here, again, that's just the BMR1959. These guys just snap right in there. And, you know, they're almost like action figure stands at that point because you can put them on one leg, you know. There's lots of options once you have them on the stand, if you like to display them with the stands. The only problem is it does make them a little bit taller than other dolls on their stands, because this stand is about ½ an inch thick, and so if you're putting it on a shelf that only has a 12-inch clearance, just kind of be wary of that. You may have to have him crouched a little bit, but you know, overall they're worth the money. I like them. 10 out of 10 recommend. I do compare them to the BTS dolls, Now the BTS dolls are a lot closer to the they're a lot closer to the Monster High boys, and it is unfortunate that they are not fully articulated. See, we have this skin tone, and see, they just have the one joint in the arm, but they do have wrist articulation. Not a whole lot of movement, really, but that's just because the joint is a little tighter than the made-to-move Kens. But again, you know, if we take these little shoes off and his pants, I can show you all the further articulation comparison. So again, these guys do have knee articulation. Again, it only goes to about, I would say, about an 80-degree bend. It doesn't go to that full 90 that you would want, like right there, to sit in chairs properly, but it's better than nothing. And again, they do have this ankle articulation here, which is convenient, especially for getting them dressed. You can point the toes into their skinny jeans and things like that. But unfortunately, with their necks, they are designed for this smaller neck peg, and so these heads do not go onto made-to-move bodies or even regular Ken doll bodies easily, even if you cut them, because you have to cut almost right up under the jaw just to get them to fit over the Ken neck pegs, which is unfortunate because I did want to rebody some of these onto this skin tone over here that we have, because they over there are almost a perfect match on this. They're a little bit whiter on the scale of skin tones, but you know, that's okay. I have a bunch of these because I also do Monster High rebodies, and but you know, we'll see what these boys are going to become later on down the line. Again, I only got these BTS dolls because I picked them up at Five Below when they were $5, so I am not terribly worried about how much I spent on them being what I spent on them. I think they initially retailed for like 20 each, which, you know, is not bad for a doll, especially a doll that has articulation, but I'm not really aware of very much K-pop or really any BTS songs in particular. Not that I dislike them, I'm just not a K-pop fan, I guess is a good way to put that. I like more show tunes and things like that. Kind of obvious from my doll collecting. But they are good dolls. Again, they are going to be a lot shorter than the made-to-move Ken, but they have bigger feet, almost. Like, they are not quite the same foot size, but they look almost duck-footed just by how big their feet are. But they do stand up on their own pretty much, which is always nice in a doll. Like, he's standing on his big duck feet. But, you know, it works. Again, you know, if you want to throw a Deuce Gorgon head on these, it probably works. I haven't done it yet, but just for a little comparison of other Mattel bodies, because these are Mattel dolls. If you can see that Mattel right there, they are 2015 Mattel dolls. So these are the same company. These hands are probably the same mold, which is kind of nice, except for the fact that they are less expressive These are almost like Barbie hands in the way that they just kind of go like that. But again, good dolls, really good use of $5 in my opinion for what I want to do with them. And again, we have, for the medium skin tone, they do come on these wheelchairs. And again, if you want to just pop them in, they go right in there. And then they go on like that. And again, we've got them like that. And they sit right there, and they sit nice and pretty. And those wheelchairs are pretty cool for when you want to add a little bit of ADA compliance to your dolls. So I think really that's all we want to talk about. Oh, I do want to say something on these little flip-flops for the man bun doll. Is that this gold paint on here, on these BMR, does come right off with a little bit of acetone and a Q-tip. And I do that with these just because I don't like logos, but you could easily repaint these into some Gucci slides, which may be one of my next projects coming up. But yeah, you know, again, if you like, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments about doll sizing or specifications or color matches, just leave a comment and I'll try to answer. All right, this is Disney D Prince signing off. Bye, y'all.